Welcome to this River Publishers book discussion. I'm Philippa Jefferies, and I have with me Scott Offermann, professional global facility manager, public speaker, author, and expert in critical environments and integrated facilities management. Today, we are talking about the new edition of his book, Creating a Strategic Energy Reduction Plan, which is available soon. Welcome, Scott, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Fantastic. So I guess to start, could you just summarize kind of what the motivation behind the book was? Like, who can this book help?
So the motivation behind the book was actually partly to address an issue, and it was partly a joke. And so I was managing, that's true story. So I was managing a large global engineering delivery, and we had an entire team working on about 10 million square feet. And what I realized is I had such a diverse group of people. I had some engineers that were incredibly focused on energy management and sustainability, and I had other folks who didn't know what they were doing. So what I did was I created a program or a process for a person, whether they're a skilled engineer or whether they're an unskilled person with no technical knowledge, to go through the building and assess really the operation of the building. The biggest focus of the book is about how do I take my existing infrastructure and make it more energy efficient? What are those things that I can do? It is not about the big pie in the sky, dreamy stuff. Why we discuss capital improvements and things like adding solar panels or wind generators, it's really a tactical focus on how do I take an existing building using whether it's a limited budget or a small budget, and how do I make it more energy efficient? We also, in the book, everybody talks about carbon neutrality, carbon reduction. Nobody really knows what that means until we start putting it on a piece of paper. So I have taken the painstaking research of putting all of that data in the book so that people have one source to go and look at and say, well, if I save this much electricity, how many pounds of carbon does it save? Or how many acres of rainforest can I save by reduction? That's really important, because when you're trying to garner support for doing programs or projects, it's really nice if you can tell somebody, if we change to automatic light sensors, we can save 4 acres of trees or 4 acres of forest or whatever it calculates to. That really puts it in perspective to the people who really don't understand what it is we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of brings a context to it. Okay, so you talked about all the kind of little things. It's not just the big overall policies that you can do to reduce your energy. But I was wondering, like, what would you say is like the first major thing someone should look at when looking to reduce carbon emissions or improve energy efficiency of the building?
When you don't
is there one, or is it
lights.
just
Absolutely. You know what? There's so many things that add up into it. Is one of the biggest things we find is a lot of companies. So in a commercial environment, the building management system is one of the biggest bangs you can go after. Over the years, people have changed the programming. The set points aren't correct. We have air conditioners and heaters battling each other because of the programming. One of the biggest things you can do first is go through the BMS system. The key to doing that is don't assume you know the answer. Go in and look it up. Every little switch, every setting. Because what happens is people go, oh yeah, it's programmed fine. It was programmed 7 years ago. The lights come on and off just fine. And it's changed over the years. In a residential environment, the two biggest things are maintaining and managing your heating and cooling systems, actually get them maintained and tuned up, and then just turning off your lights.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we're running around, we leave our lights burning all day. My wife yells at me a lot about that. And we leave the lights burning all day, and we're just burning electricity for no reason. In the United States, if I take 1% of the power used by commercial buildings and residential buildings, 1%, just 1% of all the power just used by commercial and residential, it produces enough carbon in 1% that I have to have a forest the size of the state of California just to absorb 1% of carbon.
So any way that you can reduce that, I guess.
Absolutely. Anything I can do to reduce it a little bit, a lot, it makes a huge impact and a huge difference.
Going kind of back to the book. So this is actually the second edition that's coming out soon towards the end of this year. I'm wondering whether things in this area have developed much since the previous edition. Are there kind of any new concepts or a different focus?
There's a whole bunch of new concepts. There's advancing technology, and there's a little bit of different focus. When this book was first published, I believe in 2014, everybody was all about energy and cost reduction. That was the big driving point, is save money, save money, save money.
Yeah.
Now we've gone to ESG programs, environmental sustainability governance, right? And people are talking about net neutrality. People are talking about carbon reduction. Companies are making grandiose statements that they're going to be carbon neutral by 2035, right? And so as we look at doing this, we produce carbon in everything that we do, whether it's breathing, whether it's driving our automobiles, be it an electric automobile or a petrol automobile. We're constantly producing it. So in order to help meet those goals, we still need to provide these incremental steps moving forward, right? We still need to be able to reduce what we can from our utility consumption and our utility bills, okay? Technology has advanced. Solar panels are becoming much more attractive. They've got better understanding of wind generation. There are some of the technologies, and we won't pick on them, that were very hot in the early 2010s to 2015 that people have realized was not as effective as the manufacturers were claiming that they're going to be. So we've got a lot of those things really moving forward. So people are making the right choices now. We're looking at the ability to put solar panels on houses that are very cost effective. 5-10 years ago, they weren't quite so cost effective. The other big change that I've incorporated into the book that has been incorporated by either volunteering or force into our lives is we have a huge amount of people working from home now. With the pandemic, because the only way it affected me was I put on pounds. With the pandemic coming in, we saw people working from home. Well, now I'm taking a residential environment and I'm trying to do commercial work in it. It's a huge benefit to a company because they don't have to pay for me to be in their building, but now I'm changing the way I've used my household and my residence. So we talk about energy efficiencies within houses, right? How do you make your house, your resident, your apartment much more energy efficient? A lot of the same concepts in a commercial building are absolutely applicable to a residential building. Percentages are the same, results are different, because instead of saving hundreds of dollars, I'm saving tens of dollars, right? The truth is, if I can tell you you can save $10 a month on your utility bill, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. I'm interested, like now more people are working from home, less people are in the office or these buildings. What kind of impact has that had on being able to reduce energy consumption or efficiency?
So with people not coming into the office, companies should have, and should, if they haven't done it, take advantage of operating the buildings in a reduced operational status, right? So if I don't have people coming into the office, I don't necessarily have to heat it and cool it to the same temperatures as human occupancy. Okay, that's one of the big things behind it. There are some things we're never ever going to be able to get away from. I still have to leave the systems running because they don't like not running, right? And especially if I'm using a water source system, I've got to keep my cooling towers operating and the chemical treatment going on in there. A lot of companies have been very diligent about emptying their vending machines and unplugging their vending machines and making sure that a lot of the peripheral equipment is turned off or at least put into a sleep mode. So when we were in an office that used to have 50 multi-function device copy machines, I may only need 1 or 2 now. Go unplug them, right? And get those turned off. Other companies are looking at, now they're really starting to realize what they have done by the infamous value engineering, right? And so as companies, as you're coming in and building a buildings, things get value engineered out. I don't need to spend as much money on a BMS system because why would I ever need that? I need the $100,000 chandelier in my main lobby. Now they're realizing with the pandemic, I can't control the building I really needed to. right? We have people who have reduced economizers where you bring in outside air or fresh air. Well, with the pandemic, you're supposed to bring in as much fresh air as possible, up to 100%. Well, they can't do it. And to come in and retrofit that equipment after the fact now starts becoming very expensive. So we've really seen a lot of people going, I really need to be focusing not only on my people space and the aesthetics of my building, but the mechanical systems to keep people safe, right? As we're doing this. We're also seeing people recognizing the investment in retro commissioning as well as commissioning. A lot of people will build a building and never spend the money on commissioning. There's a lot of times that they're not retro commissioning their existing equipment every so often, every 5-10 years, whatever the frequency needs to be, which causes it to operate in a much less efficiency.
So would you say like the pandemic's really made people kind of look at this more closely?
Yes, and not only are they going to be looking at doing that, you know, there's a whole bunch of things that go into what we've been doing over the past year. So we would take a building that was built in, say, the 1990s or the 2000s that was designed to have one person for every 200 square feet. And I built a cooling and a heating system to that level. I now take that same building and I jam people in at one person for every 40, 50, or 60 square feet. I double my occupancy, but I never change the heating and cooling system. Right. So now they're working extra hard to try and keep up. They're stressing and straining the systems. People are realizing, wow, I really need to think about how I'm using the building. And when I do a renovation, I got to make sure that my mechanical systems are supporting my existing renovation or the proposed renovation. The other thing we're looking at is a lot of buildings were built with an all or nothing mentality. I turn on my air conditioning unit, it heats and cools the entire building, right? Now they're going, I'm not using the top 3 floors of my 4-floor building. Why am I heating and cooling them? Wow, if I had a good energy management system, right? Or if I didn't value engineer out that air conditioning or that heating system that we were talking about, that's where we're really starting to see some of the reduction coming in.
So is that what it comes down to then, your energy management system, how able you are to control exactly what's going on within your building?
So the energy management system absolutely makes it easier because you can sit at a desk and type a computer keyboard. We've been using energy management systems since the dawn of time. And it started back in the Stone Age where the guy got up in the middle of the night at the cave and put fire sticks in his fire because he was managing the energy of that fire. Okay. You're doing energy management at home, and your energy management system is your finger to turn off the light switch as you leave the kitchen. Right. So make no bones about it. A manual process is just as good as an electronic process if you put the process in place and follow it. If you don't have the money, or if your corporation doesn't have the resources to make the investment, and resources is a big blobby number because we may choose not to make an investment. If I'm in a leased building, why would I renovate it if I'm moving out in 2 years, right? So all of those things are applicable. In a home environment, building management systems are now becoming not only cost effective, but very affordable. Whether you're using a home system that connects to your internet that can turn on and off lights for you using your voice commands or using your telephone. You can buy light bulbs that wire into your telephone where you can turn them on and off remotely. You have wireless thermostats that can be programmed remotely. So if I'm not at home for the evening, I can turn my temperature up or down, and 15 minutes before I get home, turn it back on, right? And so all of these things are now within our reach, where 5-10 years ago, you were talking tens of thousands of dollars to do that to the house, and nobody would do it. Now, if I'm out at night, I can turn the light on, and when I walk in, the lights are on, and do all kinds of fun stuff completely remotely for a very small cost.
Yeah, interesting. I'm kind of afraid we've come towards the end now. We're running out of time, but thank you so much for joining me today. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.